3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the 2-2.
Oh,
That's so awful.
I hate that Drew's not here.
I know.
Drew, Pookie, come back.
Come back.
So we're missing Drew for another episode. Sadly, once again, like we said, if y'all watched the
Ratings
last
plummet.
episode, if y'all saw the last episode, Drew is out of town. I'm gonna be out of town starting tomorrow, so we don't have time to film. So we're just gonna film today, and it'll be just a double whammy episode, I suppose.
Who wants to see us again?
Oh God, no! We need Drew back. He adds something that's like I don't know what.
Unspoken Riz.
Yeah. Oh. Riz
And
me
the
up all the
toes.
time. Yeah, the feet is brutal. Anywho, probably not gonna be a super long episode today. We both have a lot of stuff we have to do.
I actually have nothing.
We don't
I'm
have.
just kidding. I have 2 exams to take.
Yeah, but we don't have an energy drink to review today. Me and Matthew are sipping on our good stuff. So we're not
Lean?
gonna. Yeah.
We're sipping on lean over here.
I passed my drug test, so I'm good. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Wait a minute.
But yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about, we brought up in the episode yesterday how a lot of people in the back room were having problems cramping. A lot of people were having gastrointestinal issues.
And we've talked about this before, but I think it's just such an important topic, and it's kind of refreshed for us
Yeah.
because we just had a competition.
And I
But,
was successfully able to lose
Yeah.
5 kilos in a matter
11
of
pounds.
in a matter of about 7 days.
Now that's for a 240,
Yeah.
250 pound man.
Not a super extreme, but it's still, I was able to do that while still PRing on my lifts, which was really good. I was able to make all-time PRs on deadlift and squat while being 5 kilos lighter than I was.
Yeah.
So I think that says something about it.
And for those of you who don't know, we're talking about USAPL, IPF.
Yeah, you kind of tell them about weigh-ins.
Where you have a 2-hour weigh-in period. So
Yeah.
for some federations, you can weigh in the day before,
24
which
hours.
that's a game changer because I can extremely water cut down to 174 if I wanted to and be 187 the next day.
And also, you're allowed to use IVs. A lot of these are not drug-tested meats.
Versus USAPL, it's you have
Drug-tested.
2 hours from the point and most of the time that's generous because if you're not the first lot number, and that's just
I was
randomly
last.
assigned lot number, if you're not up there on the number list, you could be an hour and a half, an hour.
And if you're first in your flight,
Right,
you're
you can
gonna
get a 10, 20 minute turnaround from when you step on that scale to when you start warm-ups. So Noah was going to talk about kind of how he successfully did a water cut.
It's a lot of carbonation.
It's a lot of, and this is my second one today. Oh gosh, how to successfully do a water cut, but as well as kind of what that refeed period looks like, food and liquid wise. So yeah.
So this is coming from, like Matthew said before, I'm usually a 250-pound individual. So
On Saturdays he's 220. What the heck?
But do not take my exact numbers as I should be doing this exact thing, because mine could be much higher. For someone like Corinne, I worked with her to make weight. She is a 130-pound woman, so her numbers were substantially different
If
than
you
mine.
cut 5 keys at 130 pounds, that's a problem.
Yeah, very, very big difference. She cut 1.5, 2 kilos. Anywho, so kind of I'll start with what a water cut is and why you actually would want to do it. So a lot of people in their off season, you push a little more weight, you're maybe a little above your weight class. Let's say I'm 110, I'll be sitting around between that 112 to 116 mark. If you're an 82, maybe
I'm
you're
around
sitting around
85.
85. Yeah, so around 85. Some are even a little higher.
I mean, there's
and
some
things
82s who sit around 90,
Yeah.
93.
Exactly. So, and it all depends on just kind of how competitive your weight class is and kind of what you want to do. But for me personally,
And
I sit
now,
around
why would you be at the top of your weight class?
because you want to be as strong as you can in
Right.
your weight class. You want to fill out that weight class.
And
If I'm
typically-
110 in the 110 weight class and I weigh 102, that is a disadvantage to me because I'm competing against people that weigh up to 8 kilos more, which is
Probably more than
18
that,
pounds.
right?
Yeah, with water cuts and stuff. So these people could have 18, 20 pounds on me, and in our sport, especially a majority of the time, mass moves mass. So if you're, stuck at the bottom of your weight class, I would really recommend,
You put some weight
don't
on.
overdo it, but, try and get to that. If you're a few keys over, that's fine, or kind of stay around. Like during states, I think I sat around 110,
But
111,
you were still
and
new
then I
to
cut
filling out
down.
that weight
Yeah.
class. And the reason I had Noah specify that is because people ask all the time, why do you weigh over or why would you weigh under your weight class? Again, if I'm 107, I can be 166 pounds and be an 82.
Yeah.
Well,
There's no point.
Most of the time, at 185 pounds, I'm going to be stronger than someone 160.
Yeah.
Not always,
Because there's
plenty
freaks,
of
but
examples,
majority of
but
the time.
most of the time.
Yeah, so you want to have every advantage you can, and weight is definitely a big advantage. That's why a lot of the times bigger lifters are stronger than smaller lifters. That's just an average number for a 110 is going to be higher than an average number for a 75. That's just how that is. Mass moves mass at the end of the day. But so I bulked up after states and got to around 250 morning weight. So that's like 255 at night, 254 at night, which for me is by far the biggest I've ever been. Because until about a year ago, was sitting around like the 220 mark pretty regularly. And I was pushing just to get to that 220, but something Crumble Cookie can't handle.
Unfortunately, yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I bulked up to around 250 morning weight. So 254 at night, 255, and my weight class is 242 and a half. So I started, and you can do a lot with water manipulation. Our bodies are over 70% water, so you can do a whole lot with it. Do not take it as serious as a lot of the wrestlers and MMA fighters do, just because they damn near killed themselves doing this. But a lot of powerlifters are not like that because of the 2-hour weigh-ins. It would be impossible to do that with a 2-hour weigh-in. A lot of those
2-hour
MMA
weigh-in
guys,
is a
you
game
see them
changer.
and they can barely get up on the scale. They're so dehydrated. Anywho, so you start, for me, what I did and what I did for a few other people was you start out a week out and you start drinking about 2.5 times the amount of water you normally drink in a day. So for me, I always drink a gallon. It's just what I do. It's a good habit. Drink a gallon of water. A week out, I
It's
started.
awesome until you're water cutting.
Yeah. So I then started 7 days out, 2 to 2.5 gallons of water with a lot of sodium involved in that. So I was drinking 2 elements a day. I was putting salt on every single one of my meals. I want to hold as much water and get as much sodium in my body as I can, because it'll make the process easier once you cut sodium. It'll flush out a lot. Extra excess water will flush out all that sodium, and it'll take out a lot of water with it.
So sodium holds on to water.
Yeah,
for
sodium
those who
holds
don't
onto
know.
a lot of water, but also there's saturation points with that. So you want to reach your saturation point with salt. So you really want to push that. So also your body gets used to having enough salt and enough water, so where it's starting to flush it out. Because your body will get comfortable, it'll be like, oh, I'm always getting salt, I'm always getting water. I'll just keep on flushing it out. That's why your pee turns pretty much clear. That's pretty much just water being flushed through your system.
So you can drink it.
I would not recommend it, but
But yeah,
yeah,
that's
so
what's
7
also
days out.
It's super cool how quick the body is to adapt.
Very.
You start telling your body this is how I explain it in layman's terms is I tell my body I drink 2 gallons of water a day. So it's okay, I drink 2 gallons, then I cut it, my body still thinks I drink 2 gallons,
So
and then it's like,
continuously
wait,
cuts
where's
water.
this water going? And that's kind of
well, that's all a water cut is.
yeah.
So basically,
But that's how I like to explain it to people who are
Yeah.
because I was working and they're like, why are you drinking 4 gallons of water a day? And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, you don't understand.
yeah. So, and then when you get to that, I got to 3 days out. About 3 days out, I cut all sodium. So I think that Friday, I cut salt, or not Friday, Thursday, I cut salt. Wednesday night, Thursday morning-ish, cut all sodium. So unseasoned food, don't put salt on anything. not drinking elements, not
Now, is it
doing anything
unseasoned
like
food
that.
or unsalted food?
I mean, unsalted, but a lot of seasonings have sodium in them. So, like, you can use garlic powder, onion powder, but, like,
Okay.
a lot of, like, the garlic salt or any, like, added...
With salt
Well, but,
in
like,
the
any
name.
of those, like, Weber seasonings
Yeah.
or, like, any of those specialty seasonings, those all have salt in them. So, like, you have to look at the sodium content. A lot of processed food has a bunch of salt, a bunch of preservatives, so you can't be eating that 3 days out. Like, Corinna was so funny. She was like, can I eat, like, lox salmon and, like, deli sandwich meat? And I was like, that's probably the worst thing you could possibly be eating right now because of how much sodium is in it. So about 3 days out, cut sodium, keep the water really, really, really high, if not increase it another half gallon. You really want to flush all of that sodium out, as well as all that water that you're holding on because of that sodium out. The more you urinate, the better it's going to be. The more your body's adapting, like you said, to peeing more. So then once you reach, so I cut water Friday
afternoon.
night because I was competing Saturday night.
Mhm.
So usually like about 16 hours before you weigh in, you cut water completely. So I got 2.5 gallons in before 5 o'clock. I had Corinne drinking around 120, 140 ounces. She got that in before 2 o'clock. So 2 o'clock on Friday, she got all of that water in and then cut water. And for me, I got it, 2.5 gallons in by that 5 o'clock mark, then I cut water. So then you'll notice you'll still be peeing just as regularly as you were when you were drinking that much water. That is because, like Matthew said, your body adapts to that influx of water, and it will continuously be like, okay, well, more water is going to be coming, so I can go ahead and get rid of this stuff that I'm storing. Your body's going to be holding water a lot, so it thinks, okay, I'm so used to getting 2.5 gallons, I'm going to get that, so I'm going to continuously flush this water out because I'm not going to need it because I know that it's coming. Well, it never comes. So you keep on peeing and you keep on going. And I lost, I think, 2.5 kilos the last day.
Yeah.
Or no, about 2 kilos the last day. So I woke up, I went to sleep at 110.5 on Friday night, and I ended up weighing in at 108.4. And so then throughout that day, because you don't, at least for me, I knew I was going to make weight. So you make adjustments based on this. You talk to your coach, talk about you.
So, and that's...
One more thing. Yeah, I'm going to say 2 more things. So for me, I didn't want to be like super dehydrated. I would rather go into it a little hydrated and maybe weigh a bit more than completely cut water, completely cut water. So weighed myself that morning. I weighed like 109, something like that. So I knew I had room to mess around with my weight a little bit. So I would drink water in 6-ounce increments and try and go back to sleep. You'd be shocked at how much weight you lose when you're sleeping. So I tried to go back to sleep. I drank 6 ounces of water in 6-ounce increments. And it was weird. My body was still in that mode of I'm still going to be flushing water out. So all of that water I was drinking, I was still flushing out, which was really convenient and really good. And another thing I learned, actually my coach taught me this, kind of the foods I was eating the day before. So potassium and sodium interact with each other within your body. So when you eat a lot of sodium, those potassium ions are going to latch onto those sodium ions and they're going to flush sodium out rapidly. So that Friday, I had like 3 or 4 bananas, like half of a watermelon.
I was going to get radiation poisoning.
So a lot of potassium. So potassium is a natural, like, kind of diuretic, not necessarily a diuretic, but it helps take out sodium, which hence takes out more water. So yeah, that's kind of how I did that. And then right after I weighed in, I drank an Element with 20 ounces of water, chugged it. I ate sweet potatoes, something that I don't eat super normally, but I ate sweet potato fries, rice, chicken, stuff that's super easy to digest. Had a full meal ready right when I weighed in.
Did you eat it cold?
Oh yeah,
I thought you did.
completely cold. A lot of the things that you're going to be eating, be prepared to eat them cold. If you can't eat a cold meal, you have no business being on a platform. For that mentality. No, I'm serious. If you complain about having a cold meal, get out.
I've got to go.
I don't care.
All right, guys.
No, but next time, like, if you are not prepared to eat one meal cold.
No, yeah.
That's not what it's about. I'm not here to enjoy myself.
No, you're right.
So I ate a pretty big meal cold. It was about a cup of rice, 8 ounces of chicken, maybe about a cup of sweet potato. So I got that, and I put salt on all of that food. Sodium is going to help transfer water throughout your body. So you do want sodium after weigh-ins, once you compete, because that will severely help your body move that water around. I'm like kind of getting my terms mixed up. It'll severely help your body move that water around within itself in your bloodstream and into your muscles. I think so. I don't know. I lost track of what I was.
And for those who don't know what Element is, it's a gram of salt and flavored with magnesium and potassium chloride, which are two really big electrolytes. Kennesaw gets it through like a sponsorship, but if not, and I think I'm a huge advocate of hydration and hydration correctly. So pink salt, something like that. Try and stay away from Gatorade in terms of a hydrator. In terms of a fast-acting carbohydrate, liquid carbs like Gatorade are awesome. But Pedialyte, something with upwards of 800 milligrams of sodium, is going to be good to rehydrate you. There was a girl there, and I think she weighed in at 114. And we met her the morning of. She says she normally sits around 125. That's cool. So she cut 8 pounds. And whatever happened, she was severely dehydrated. Excuse me. It gets to me. The carbonation. I know. Wow. Crazy. She was severely dehydrated to where she couldn't move her arm because of a cramp that bad. Obviously, being the saint that I was, gave her an Element packet. But the reason that I say that is because that point of the second you step off the scale to before you step on the platform, having
immediately
quintessential a plan. This guy didn't even say hi to us. He started fixing his Element and drinking it and eating. But also one thing I see so popular is powerlifters eat junk, absolute junk, to fuel themselves. And that is just not. If you want to be the elite, you're not. And not even elite. For me, I'll throw up. It's too much sugar, That's why I use honey and rice cakes.
Yeah, so that's another thing. I mean, like you said, a lot of people are eating crap on the platform. They bring a 5-pound bag of gummies and that's all I'm going to eat. When in reality, if your body, the reason why I choose those foods is because they're super simple. A sweet potato and rice are some of the most simplistic carbohydrates that your body can break down. So it's going to be breaking down those pretty fast, and it's not going to be hard on your gastrointestinal. And another thing, chicken, super easy to digest for me. I've been eating chicken my whole life, so my body is super used to.
No, higher protein cut of chicken.
Yeah,
not
chicken
something
breast.
Like chicken thigh.
So that's another thing so carbohydrates like that, they start their breakdown from your saliva. So saliva breaks down those simple starches and stuff like that, and glucose. Wow, so it's almost not fully digested, but it's about halfway done through the digestion process once it reaches your stomach. Protein, not super similar. It doesn't start breaking down in your mouth, but it does start breaking down in your esophagus as well as going down into your stomach. So those two are the fastest digesting foods that you can eat. You want to stay away from fat. I hear way too many people eating trail mix. I hear way too many people eating chocolate. Way too many people eating stuff like that are really high in fat, really buttery, things like that. You don't want to be doing that. Stick to whole foods, at least for your first meal. If you have a meal before you compete, it should be whole foods. It should be chicken and rice.
I stay away from one of two things. It should be something you've been eating your whole prep. So it's nothing that you're not introducing new, and it should be whole foods.
Yeah, so a very basic, very good chicken and rice. All of us have eaten chicken and rice at one point in our lives, turkey and rice, anything like that. You can even put a little bit of sauce on it if you like, get some sugary sauce. I know a lot of people do like barbecue chicken with rice, which is really cool. But don't you know? Well, I mean, it's like a really sugary.
That you just said it was cool.
It's really sugar. It's a sugary sauce, really high in calories, so it's easy ways to get sugar in. You also can't just eat carbs while you're competing. I'm trying not to say so much, and I'm failing.
That's a little fun sidebar. I say occasionally. I got in a bad habit. Like when I was working, I cleared the ums, and I mean it just elevates you as an individual.
Yeah, it makes you feel more intelligent.
Yeah, because when I'm in a conference room and I just hear a bunch of ums, it's the same thing as when you're seeing a speaker and they do a pattern. My mind goes to the it goes to the pattern. It doesn't like comprehend what they're saying.
Yeah,
so it's one of those things where I have to be more conscious of the words I'm saying as to not say it because it's such a lily pad, a stepping stone.
So like
oh, you hit him with the combo.
Yeah. So during this meet, I know. Can't even start a sentence.
He's bugging. Oh my gosh, bro is doing
a lot of people in meets will only eat carbs. They'll only eat candy. They think that's the only thing that is like necessary for them to succeed. When in reality, proteins, especially someone of my size, it may not be as important for someone that's a lot smaller. But I had beef jerky. I had chicken. Beef jerky has a lot of sugar in it. Therefore, it's really good for you to eat a lot of high protein, high carbs as well. So don't neglect protein on meet day. Your body does still need protein. Glycogen is great, gives you energy, but your body also needs to be able to recover and recover properly. So that's why I had 8 ounces of chicken. I had a little bit of beef jerky while I was going, probably only about 4 ounces, but that's still going to be 40 grams of protein-ish, 40 to 50.
4 ounces.
Of chicken.
Yeah.
I was thinking of beef jerky.
No.
The math doesn't work like that.
No. So I had chicken and then beef jerky as well. And I wanted, so I kept my protein not as much as I normally would. I'm not going to be pushing, 200-300 grams of protein, but still pushing that maybe about half of what you normally eat. So I was, probably sitting around 100-ish grams of protein throughout the day. And then obviously, like you said, it's okay to have candy. Some people don't, but like honey is great. I had a few like little cookies that I had that were really good. I had a lot of. I've been waiting to eat those for like 3 weeks. And I also bought the Mott's fruit chews. I said, again, about to beat myself.
He buys the gummies from Costco.
60
pack. A
pack.
lot of them for
60 pack.
So that's the main thing. It's like I think you should start your day. Don't start your day strong and decline, but have it intermittently. Like candy is fine. At the end of the day, my favorite.
It's good to get sugar.
Little thing is those like Toasties, Donettis, or whatever they're called.
Those are high in fat though.
I've never had them on a meat, but that's always been
I
wanted for a meat.
Like powdered donuts.
Yeah, so good.
Those are really high in fat.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it makes sense.
But you really
just want to say the simple things to start. At least give yourself a foundation.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people, the trash cans in the back of there were just disgusting. Like how much candy is consumed. I also just like. You want to feel good when you lift.
Also hydrate throughout the whole time. I also see a lot of people drink their water bottle, think they're rehydrated, like 20 ounces of water. I'm good. And they keep on going and they forget to drink water. I drank a whole gallon in like the 4 hours that I was competing. So along with 2 elements. So I drank a whole gallon of water with, like I said, 2 elements really keep that sodium high. So that's kind of what I did. That's how I was able to lose 5 kilos in about a week and not see any detriment to my total, and I did better than what I was expected to do.
Would you think there would be more value in eating more before the meet? Or do you think you were able to cover?
No, I think I was. The only issue I think was after my squat, my legs got a little shaky and a little quivery, but I don't know if I would have weighed in at 112. I don't know if I would have been first off stronger or been able to feel better after. I'm sure I would have, but
I don't know if it's worth it.
Because I would have rather stayed in my weight class as well as those DOTS points.
Well, I was saying
108 to 110.
Oh,
Yeah, not 112.
Because
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't even know I was weighing 108 when I walked in.
Yeah,
because I had
before.
I think I had about 16 ounces of water, 16 to 20 ounces of water. I had a bagel that morning and 2 yogurts.
So
I had about a pound and a half.
a full meal.
Yeah, about a
Okay,
pound and a half of like liquid and solids. And I weighed in at 109.2.
So
I was like, maybe
Okay,
this is fine.
I
So I thought I was gonna weigh in at like 109.4,
and
and I came in about a kilo under because I kept on peeing. When I was sitting there to weigh in and stuff, I went to the bathroom like 2 or 3 times and like peed every time.
Okay.
So I came in a lot lighter than I had anticipated. I thought I was going to come in at least 109.
So I was wondering that because I did the same thing my last meet. We have the same coach, so she's going to guide us on water cuts very similarly. For me, I weighed in at 179.5. Being under 180 is crazy for me. But with regard to that, all I really had was my morning shake. I could have eaten more food in the morning. So
And that's another thing. If you have room to eat and drink, you need to do that.
Like
it was funny. James, he weighed 64 keys in the 67.5 weight class, and so he was with us the whole time, kind of thinking he needs to be in that water cut mentality. And we were like, obviously he wasn't. He bought a whole thing of like chocolate milk and drank it. And he was in terms of the day before the meet, we were like, do whatever you want. You got it.
Yeah,
because we made burgers. I couldn't have a burger. I just ate chicken. A little bit of rice. So you kind of keep it whole foods. Try and do a week. I tried to do a relative clean week of food. I had kava like once or twice. Stuff like that.
You wanted crumble so much.
Oh, so bad.
I fought for you.
Yeah, I wanted crumble really
What a
bad.
good roommate I am.
Try to.
Crumble's so good.
I love crumble. Anywho,
so
that's kind of
where
I'm at.
I'm gonna get you a shot collar.
Very happy. Oh yeah, I know. Now I'm noticing that it's there.
Yeah, once you become aware, awareness is the first step.
It's terrible.
I
I was listening to the podcast this morning, and
was it
I
good?
noticed
I
it
didn't
about
listen to
myself. It was good.
Yeah,
And
we listen to our own podcast.
Well, I want to hear myself
We
talk.
break the fourth wall a lot. I love breaking the fourth wall in podcasts.
What is that?
Like we will talk about outside events and like we'll talk about our own podcast. Like I listen to some podcasts where they have no mention that like they're even recording a podcast. You know, and I'm like, oh dang it. But I think to myself, come on, I want to hear something along the lines of like, I enjoy to hear that. I listen to the podcast and I care about what people have to say and that type of thing. And I think that's just one of the reasons we are the best podcast right now. Next to Joe Rogan. That's crazy. No, but yeah. I definitely think there's a lot of good points to a water cut. One thing I will say is you have to trust the process.
I mean,
I didn't weigh under 110 until
The
Friday.
day of. It's very
I did not weigh under 110 until the day of.
And
And that's why I tell people do not cut into your first meet. Because it's so stressful. And I remember my first meet. Had Longhorn the night before. I weighed in, 82, 81 Ps. That's on top of eating whatever I wanted. I had a Buc-ee's sandwich. Like, I had whatever I wanted, and that makes the meat experience so much less stressful. And I also think there's something, and maybe this is just me, but as a more, I'm not a veteran, but someone who's competed multiple times, I'll use the word veteran powerlifter, to newer people, you want to like catch them, you want to grab them, you want to make sure they love the sport, and so having that stress of a water cut, it just doesn't make it as enjoyable. Now that I'm in and I'm not going anywhere, water cut. But I do think you have to trust the process because during my water cut, and this is me living in the 180s, I started the week at like 185. I got up to like 189 with sodium and water, and I'm
You'll
like,
gain a
oh
lot.
my gosh, I haven't been 190, 10 weeks. Dropped down to 179. What do you say to rebuke the parents, the people who are like, that's not healthy?
So Edie's mother is a physician.
She
does this. She
water cuts on a weekly
No. She is the most intelligent person I've ever talked to.
And
Edie had a bad time with me doing this for steaks, and she was like, "That's not healthy. You shouldn't cut your sodium." Like, she heard people talk about how people have had heart attacks or people have died, like on the football field. So, in our town in Douglasville, Georgia, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, there was a kid that died. Our camera's off. There was a kid that died on the football field because he had about like 3 gallons of water within like 4 hours. So in that, what happened was his body was sweating, and so his body was getting rid of water, which is also getting rid of sodium. What he was drinking was straight water, which with no sodium also flushes out sodium. So what happened was he washed out all of the electrolytes and all the sodium in his bloodstream, and then his heart, he not had a heart attack, but cardiac failure, and his heart pretty much just stopped beating, passed out, pretty much died on the spot. And a lot of people hear that and they're like, oh my gosh, anyone that cuts water is going to do that. So what she said was not having sodium for 2 days, 2 to 3 days, while drinking that much water over a 12 to 16 hour window, besides when you're asleep. But if I'm up for 16 hours and I'm drinking 2.5 gallons of water throughout that 16 hours without taking in electrolytes, that's not going to hurt me. I'm realistically, my body is going to hold on to sodium regardless.
I also feel like no one in the general populace drinks any bit of water or any bit of sodium.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a whole, but I talked to her and she said, you are completely fine.
Yeah.
I have zero worries. And she kind of calmed Edie down, because Edie was really just not liking that idea of my weight dropping like that, and also like how I was doing it with salt and water manipulation. But from a physician that is very well known across the nation as being one of the most intelligent internal medicine doctors in the U.S., she said that it was completely fine. Obviously not ideal, but for a quote unquote special occasion, it's okay to push your body to do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not like ideal. You shouldn't be doing that for no reason, but it's okay. So I think that if people actually do research on what actually happens and what causes people to go into cardiac arrest and for those bodily functions to shut down, then they'll understand that, if I drink 3 gallons of water in 3 hours and flush my system while I'm in 95-degree weather sweating,
with helmet and pads on,
that's a problem. And that's why Georgia passed a law over like 85 degrees, you can't have any practice outside.
I didn't know that.
And it was from that kid. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons why that happens. And so that's kind of what I have to say to that is, obviously it's not something like if you weigh 130 pounds and you're a girl, in no way in hell should you try and get to 115. You also have to know when to call it. Mm-hmm. If I weighed 260 pounds, I would not be trying to get to 240.
Right.
That's unreasonable,
I feel
and that's dangerous.
10 pounds is kind of where 10 pounds is that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a substantial amount of body mass.
4 to 7, I'm not gonna say is safe, but is reasonable. Obviously,
I think Corinne, she's a 130-pound girl. I think she was 3 or 4 pounds.
Right, and that's
that's
crazy.
But for me, losing however many, quite a bit. I lost quite a bit this meet, but I just think you have to know your percentage and how much of that weight is a percentage
that you can.
If you weigh 100 pounds and you try and cut down to 90, that's 10% of your body weight. That's extremely unhealthy. That's extremely dangerous, and you should never, ever, ever consider doing that. But if you're 180 pounds and you want to cut down to 175, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's completely fine. You just have to know when to call it and when to be, when it's not smart and what percentage of your body weight you're actually losing.
And then the last thing.
We can show this. Y'all don't know what we're drinking.
Y'all don't know what we're drinking. Cheers.
Cheers. Think it. Oh, do you want to hear? Oh, do you guys want to hear the sparkle or whatever?
The fizz. How good it is.
Oh,
it's so good. That is so good. That's one of the best flavors I've ever had.
And we're gatekeeping this, by the way, so y'all don't get to know.
We're not telling you. So
you can try and find it.
And we won't tell if you're right or wrong, though. The last thing. It's so funny, the gatekeeping. The last thing is, what do you do with food during your week of water cutting?
Yeah.
That's a good
So,
question.
I mean, during the week, I try and be as clean as possible.
Calorie-wise, too.
Oh, I mean,
hit
realistically,
me
I
both
was
points.
not. I was really not tracking calories that much. I've been doing this long enough to where I know an ish approximate. And for someone that eats as much food as me, a couple hundred calories either way is not really going to throw me off too much.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, I'm not tracking calories actively just because I choose not to do that. If you want to do that meat week, that's perfectly fine. That's probably better. But I just choose not to do that.
All I was
So-
going for is eat at your maintenance.
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to be around
You don't
your
need to
weight
cut
mass.
calories on meat week. That's
yeah,
the biggest
cutting
thing.
calories is kind of silly.
And it didn't seem like you were, from what I
No, I was still fueling my body and to be fine because also you don't want your body to go in this situation of, oh, we're no longer getting enough food. Let's hold on to everything we possibly
Mm-hmm.
can, and then you're in a real shit show. That's where you're going to start gaining weight.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be holding on to a lot more water, all that sodium, all that stuff. So that's you kind of want to stay around maintenance. You know, a couple hundred calories either way. You know, 100, 200 calories either way. It's not going to affect you that much in 1 week. So for me, I kind of, stayed around maintenance. I tried to eat foods that I was super used to. Going into prep, you kind of play around with different foods, what foods my body digests. This prep, bagels were at the forefront of it. I had
Bagels are the forefront of all
I had a
of our
lot
lives.
of bagels.
They're like
But
4 bagels a day.
previously,
here.
like I've tried Costco muffins. Those didn't work for me. I've tried other things. It just didn't work for me. I've learned plain bagels work really well, things like that.
You
So-
also had a mock nutrition day
Yeah.
the Saturday before. You want to talk
Yeah,
about
that's
that?
another thing. So Becky had the genius idea of running me through an SBD day the week before my meet to kind of test out what I wanted to be at.
I'm laughing because the pauses in that sentence could have been really funny. Becky had the genius idea of running me through an SBD day.
Oh, yeah. I mean that like serious. Like it was a good idea.
Running an SBD day and running nutrition and all of that.
Yeah.
So she did that with me too, but
Yeah.
it just could have been really funny. Yeah, my coach had me do SBD. Wait a minute.
So she did that. She told me to do that, which I really liked. And I was able to kind of learn. Like I tried beef jerky that day. It worked really well. I did my fruit chews, did the Rice Krispie treats, things like that. And they all worked really well. So I recommend having like a quote unquote mock meat day and kind of run through what you think your best foods are going to be. And then see how you do on that meat day, on that mock meat day. And then that can carry over to your real meat. And then you have notes of, okay, after squat, I need to push some protein because I have a really heavy squat compared to everything else. My heaviest lift is my squat, so I need
thought it was your bench.
that protein. I need that protein to be able to try and at least do a little bit of recovery before I move on to my deadlifts.
Right.
Because obviously, I'm using my legs for bench, but
And how did
deadlifts,
you
it takes more of a
do something like pre-workout, caffeine, ibuprofen,
So
some of those things?
what I started was I don't like taking 2 ibuprofen before I squat at the same time. So I took one right when I got back there. So I hadn't even touched a weight, hadn't done anything.
Okay.
And then I took another one when I started warm-ups. So I kind of like the whole progressive, slowly let it into your system.
Right.
And then after squats, when I realized my legs were really starting to give me some problems, I did not want my knees and hips to start hurting for
Right.
deadlifts. So I took 2 more around when I started, probably midway through bench warm-ups, and then I did not take any more the rest of the day because I felt fine.
So you only took 4.
Yeah, maybe 5. I may have taken a 5th before deadlifts, but I don't think I did. I think it was just 4.
No, I don't think you did.
Yeah, I think I just took 4. And then pre-workout was a little interesting because I think at States I got a little too carried away with pre-workout.
Did you do a full scoop?
I took a scoop before every lift
That's
at States.
That's
so
so wild.
within 4 hours, I had 600 mgs of caffeine.
I've never done that.
No, but in pre-workout form.
No,
I had
yeah,
all the
with,
beta-alanine,
yeah.
all the citrulline, everything.
You're tingling on the platform.
Yeah. So
why
I
I'm
did
handling.
1 scoop for squats. I did half of a scoop for bench, and then I was done. I didn't
You
do
also-
any more pre.
You also didn't have pre the whole week before the meet.
Yeah.
So you were jonesing all week,
Oh yeah.
and you popped a lost
And I
and
had
found.
a little bit of. I didn't even finish.
You
that
didn't
lost
finish
and
it?
found.
Okay.
So I had maybe like half throughout the whole meet.
So 75 minutes.
Yeah. So I probably had 325 ish
Again,
on the day.
as a 240 pound man.
yeah, not 300.
I'm just kidding. But
But yeah, so like you don't like some people like to get a little carried away with caffeine,
maybe
which we
800
learned
mgs at a very
as a
light body weight.
130-pound girl.
Not saying any names.
Not saying Corinne. But so she had a little mishap where she consumed way too much, way too much caffeine for her tolerance level and body weight and just everything in general, and got a little sick after, which is fine. We were all
sick.
yeah, we were all it's fine, but that is something to learn of. Don't like caffeine's not going to make you lift infinitely more.
I was gonna say
It'll get you a little more excited, but people overdo it, and then they end up, getting sick.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, caffeine is a natural, number 2 enhancer.
laxative.
I was
Number
just trying
2
to think of
enhancer.
laxative.
One thing I'm very passionate about, and even more so going into a meet prep, not competing, right? So like living with people in prep. Meet day is just like any other day.
Yeah.
Except for adrenaline and making weight. I
Take it
just
a
look
little
at the
more
camera,
serious.
they're not there.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I'm personally passionate about is because you've hit your best lifts in training doing these few things. Mm-hmm. You don't need to come in on meet day and be like, I need 4 pounds of candy. I need this. Mm-hmm. Rehydrate, refuel, go about it like you would do a normal SBD day. Now, if you don't ever eat or hydrate on an SBD day, that's a problem. And that's
still should, though.
That's what I'm saying. You should.
Yeah.
But like, if you're having good, healthy habits throughout prep and throughout how you train, you really don't need to make that many changes to meet day. Mm-hmm. That's at least how I see it, because
I agree.
I don't think having this whole like new day that you're in all these new variables, because they're gonna mess you up. Because I've thrown up on meet day multiple times.
That's terrible.
Because I changed my pre-workout the day of the meet. Like, what an idiot, Let me
I
get
did that at States.
what?
I did that at
So did
States.
I.
I saved CBUM for that.
I bought a new pre the day of States and I used it and I threw up because I wasn't adjusted. Like,
Thanks.
something didn't agree with me. So yeah, that's just what I have to say. Is like, it should be more or less a regular training day if you have good
Just
habits.
a little more serious, a little
Yeah.
more dialed.
Right.
I was locked.
Bro had like 6 Jonathan Keiko moments throughout the meet, and it was hilarious. We all loved it too.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, had a lot of fun. It was a good meet. But yeah, you just also kind of got to know your body's limits. I know my body really well. I've been doing this
So
type of
do I.
stuff for, oh my God. I've been doing this kind of stuff for a long time. So you just have to know when to push, and also you have to know when to stop pushing. If you're starting to lock up, you're starting to do things like that before you even weigh in, you strongly need to reconsider where your weight's at and what your weight class is, because at that point you're
enough.
pushing it, and it can become a true health issue.
Yeah.
It can become a blood and heart issue really rapidly if you're starting to lock up. That's super dangerous, super unhealthy. So just know your limits. It's like, yes, it's serious, but also if you miss weight, it's not the absolute end of the world. It would rather you not make weight and be okay than cut too much weight, you pass out on the platform, you have some sort of heart malfunction, you have something of that sort that really just is like, okay, now the whole year of training, that's messed up, So that's kind of my thought process on it is, at least for me, this sport is not worth my life. So I know when to call it, know when to, don't push
agree.
it. Don't push it. Like, I had water before I weighed in because
You were in a
I
good
didn't
place.
want to push it, and I
Yeah.
already was underweight.
Yeah, a lot of people need to move up a weight class, and they don't. If you're like,
Don't be afraid to go up.
yeah, I just feel like if you are struggling to make weight, meet after meet, like you either don't know how to water cut, but probably like you're on the very top of that class, and you need to go down a class.
I will
Up a
never go up
class.
a class.
Not you.
No, I'm not
just
saying. I know
saying-
you're not talking about me, but I'm saying
In general.
it's hard because at 110, 125, respectfully, is just not competitive. I have the bench record and total record in junior 125.
You got total too.
I think so. Maybe
know
not.
that.
I'm pretty sure. I know I have. I think I had 2 records, but like,
Right.
it's just not as competitive. Whereas I'm not even close to touching any other record. For
My classes up and down are both competitive, so
Yeah.
don't really have.
Well, yeah, I
place to
know,
go.
but 125, you just get to
Yeah.
just a different thing. Yeah.
Cool. All right,
good
guys.
podcast.
I hope you enjoyed
I gotta
today.
get to studying.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to taking an exam here, going to the bathroom. Didn't have to get up to go for the first time ever.
That's good.
Probably because no caffeine.
Yeah.
Dang it. But anyway, yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Matthew and Noah chat without Drew, even though it was
You're
sad.
looking at the camera and it's making
I
me
know,
laugh.
but I always do that. Even though it was sad without Drew, you can
Yeah.
find us at the Do25 podcast on Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and TikTok. You can find the gentleman to my left at Noah Ray Lifts. You can find the gentleman not
That's
to my
not
right
here.
at the Berserker, and you can find me at Alb82.5. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one.
Woo! Bye bye.